Morning, guys. I'll give it a few more minutes. Welcome to the meeting, Wendy.
Thank you. I have a little bit of a cold as well, so I'm just, you know, yeah. I don't know
Uh,
if you'll remember Kara, how often she even came to these meetings.
she she came pretty good lot.
Yeah, yeah. But she just started a new job with the Girl Scouts.
Oh,
So, yeah, yeah. I was so sad for her to go, but opportunity calls. Got to take it.
right. Good morning, ladies. Don't know. Oh, you were here last month, Wendy.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad. I try to, yeah. I went to another reentry council meeting. I guess I didn't realize it was these counties as well.
So, how are you doing?
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
No, I was asking Marcia how she was doing.
Hi, Jonathan. I'm doing okay. I'm still working from home.
Okay. Well, I'm working from home to do as well. Uh, that's why you see all the Tennessee stuff behind me.
Yeah, you might need to elaborate a little on that.
Oh, I'm a diehard. I even got a sweatshirt on.
Oh,
I am a diehard Tennessee fan. Uh, I grew up. My great uncle, my grandmother's brother, uh, he actually played for General Neyland in the 40s. Uh, he went there in 1941, and then when World War II broke out and General Neyland took back his Army commission and went back into the military for World War II. Uh, I think pretty much the whole football team of Tennessee went with him and served in various aspects of the military during World War II. And then when World War II was over, my great uncle came back and finished playing at Tennessee. He still played for General Neyland at the time and everything. So I grew up listening to stories of Tennessee and that era and everything. Uh, so that's why I'm a proud Tennessee fan.
That's a nice story.
So
He got a choice in who he got to root for it.
I
I said you got a choice in who you got to root for at football games.
I grew up in West Virginia though.
Oh no, my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, work for UT.
Oh, okay.
So if UT is playing, we have to root because they, I have family that work there, so we have to root for them.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because my stepdad and his whole family are Alabama fans. And so Alabama and Tennessee are just like West Virginia and Pitt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they have that, what is it, the 3rd October?
yeah, October the third Saturday in October.
Yeah. My husband's a big football fan. Um, and we've went down several times and went to that game with my sister and brother-in-law. Because with them being employees of the school, they get discounts on their tickets. So it
Right.
wasn't,
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about trying to find a hotel room and all that. They live in Knoxville, so
Yeah,
it's a big to-do.
it is.
Apparently one of the traditions is for them to take the infield down and throw it in the river.
Well, that
Not the
was only
infield, but the
goalpost.
goalpost. There, I know nothing about football, as
That
you
that
clearly
was
tell.
only because that was the first time they had beat Alabama in like 20 years, I think. 18 or 20 years. I can't remember exactly what was the year, but it had been a long time.
Well, my sister says that they do it every year. It's just
No,
that was
that's
yeah. She actually, one of her projects is to replace the goalpost every year.
okay. Maybe they do that on a certain game or something, but
They do it after that game, but
mhm,
the year you're talking about, we went to that game where they threw it in the
okay.
river. That was why usually they just take it down and lay it in the field.
Right.
Um, but that year they actually did carry it to the river because that was the first time they had won in so many years or
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, my sister said that that's kind of the tradition is like, and we were there and it was weird. It was like the game was over and all of a sudden everybody just rushed down to the field. And I'm looking at my sister, I'm going, what the heck is going on? She went, oh, they're going to tear the goalpost down. They do this every year. She's like, my
So
next week at work, it will not be fun. I went, okay. So apparently,
and I'm surprised Tennessee allows it because the school got fined, I want to say $750,000 for that.
because it went out to the river, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, usually they don't take it out of the stadium.
Right.
Usually they just pull it down and they lay it in the middle of the football field, and then
Yeah.
it costs the school, well, it costs the athletic boosters, not the school.
Yeah.
However much to fix the field and fix the goalposts and all that. Um, it costs the athletic boosters quite a bit of money to fix it. My brother-in-law works in general services, and that's part of. And my sister, it's weird, it's like, because I don't know why my sister has anything to do with the goalpost because she's an architect with the school, but she said they always make a big to-do about getting the new goalpost, and there's a committee and everything
That's
to
weird.
pick. I
I
know.
didn't know that.
There's a whole lot of stuff that I didn't know until she told me about it, about how athletic boosters works with colleges and
Oh no, that I know about. That I know about.
You know, I
That's
didn't
where
know.
they get. That's where they get a lot of their money from.
Well, that's what I thought. And my sister said, no, actually, the athletic boosters and the school funding are two different things.
Right. So like the money that like say Peyton Manning, I can't remember how much he gives, goes to the sports, to the football stuff program. So they can use that money for scholarships or
Hmm.
for whatever have you.
Hmm.
So does anybody have any updates or anything? I know Leah, me and you talked pretty intensive last week.
We did.
Oh,
It looks like Kenny's back on here.
oh, Kenny's here. I didn't see him pop up yet.
He
Okay, there he
just
is. There he is. He
he
he wa-
just
he
popped
wasn't on
up.
my feed up top. So
Um,
Wendy, do you have anything going on with your program?
I do not. We're just kind of wrapping up the year. I think yeah, I guess I did come to this one last year, but or last month. I I think it was in this meeting that I had just said that we try to get information out to people who are coming into reentry because they can sign up for Medicaid, before, when they know that they're going to be getting out, and they can I think it would be helpful to have them have that all set before they leave, so that then they can, one less thing to worry about. Anyway, I'm
Well,
sorry.
you're
I'm kind
you're
of,
fine. From
I don't
my
want to
under,
repeat myself.
you're fine.
Yeah.
From my understanding, and Kenny can probably correct me if I'm wrong on anything. The reentry people that are working in the prison are allowed to get the guys that are coming out signed up for like Medicaid, Medicare, stuff like that within like 30 days of their release, but then they have to follow through with it out when they get outside. Kenny, am I correct in that thinking?
Probably correct.
Yeah, what it is within 60 days of their release date, they can go through the process of signing up for Medicaid. And unless they're discharged, if they're discharging, they get a temporary card. Everybody else just gets a temporary login and stuff for Medicaid. And then once they're released, because the issue is with the parole board, you don't actually know if you're getting out or not unless you're discharging. And so they have it where once they get released by the parole board, they can then go to the Medicaid office, DHR. All the paperwork would be filed, and they would get their Medicaid ID printout from DHR showing that they have an active Medicaid card, medical card, and then they, at their address, wherever that be, they get their permanent card at that point.
I see you put in chat that in the federal prison we cannot get them signed up while they're still here. They do that when they get to halfway house. Now, is that because, like, I know FCI Beckley, and only reason I say this because I was there at one point. You know, you have people from North Carolina, you have people from South Carolina, you have people from all over the United States. Is it because of that reason that you can't get them signed up, or is it something else?
No, we're just, can you hear me? I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, no, we do have people from everywhere, which makes it very complicated because they obviously states are different. But
Right.
that's our federal policy that while they're still actually in the federal prison, they cannot get signed up for anything until they get to the federal halfway house. At the halfway house, they get assigned a caseworker, and that caseworker can start working with them 90 days before release, because it's not considered release if they're going to the federal halfway house. So even if they're here, it's not considered release. It's not 90 days before they release. It's from the halfway house. The
Okay.
federal prison does it a little bit differently.
Okay. So are the halfway houses ran by the BOP or are they independently ran?
They are contracted.
Okay.
They have to follow our rules, but they're not, you know what I mean? They're their own group, but they do have to follow the contract that they have with us.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a
Oh.
question.
Yes, Marcia.
How do they find out about these federal halfway houses?
Well, Erica can probably answer, but I know from my knowledge of the BOP, uh, when a inmate is close to their release and if they qualify, they can be sent to the halfway houses that are ran by it's only for federal inmates. So like a West Virginia state inmate cannot go to the federal halfway house.
So
If
is that place like a secret? I mean, that's nothing I would want to put into my database for 211.
right. No. Well, it's Erica can answer that question. I don't know how the security part wise goes.
Are you asking if you need the halfway houses information in your 211?
Correct.
Well, so when an inmate is here, we put them in for halfway house. And if they qualify, then we get the information to give them before they release to the halfway house. But the halfway house isn't going to give them information until they actually arrive there. So I
Okay.
don't know if it would benefit you to put them in 211 because they're not going to, the public can't just call them and ask them for help or resources. Their resources are specifically for those um, inmates that have arrived there and that there is on their caseload. Does that make sense or no?
It does. I'll just back away from that.
Now the halfway house uses 211 a lot to bring in resources to help their guys while they're there. The halfway house that I go to visit a lot is the one in St. Albans, which actually now does accept some state inmates, I believe. Because I think that the contract has allowed some space for state inmates, if I understand correctly. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I go visit that one, and they always have different resources in the community there to help the inmates while they're there. So they do utilize 211 and all the services listed there.
Awesome.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I work at the halfway house in Jefferson. My office is here at the Capitol, but then I go down there 2 or 3 days a week. And so that's why I attend these meetings to find out about the partner agencies. We're doing really well with employment right now. But I have several that are about to be out from underneath BOP custody, and we just cannot find them places to rent. And some of them are sex offenders, but some of them are not sex offenders, and we still cannot find them places to rent. Does 211 help with that kind of thing?
Well, the only thing I have the power to do is send them to like the housing authority. I don't have any power to make things go away from their record in order to qualify. I mean, even people with an eviction on their record can't get housing. I mean, it's just crazy. And I know this is a little off topic, but I used to get about one call a week for homelessness, and now it's 3 or more a day that people are homeless. So, I don't know how much I can help them with finding housing outside of, referring them to another agency. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I worked with a woman for over a year trying to find her housing. I actually became friends with her. She had been in prison for drugs, and she did, I think, 7 years. And actually became friends. I'd take her out to eat. She didn't have a car, so I took her shopping and stuff. She babysat my dog for me when I went out of town. And then finally, she asked me for a ride to the state police that maybe they're still at DMV, but they were at the Raleigh County DMV. And here she was arrested for breaking a law in not reporting her new address. And here she was a sex offender. So I told her, I said, if you would have been honest with me up front, there was one apartment complex that accepted sex offenders in Beckley, but since that event with her, it's closed and they're going to turn it into dormitories for the college. But it's real helpful if people are honest up front, because pretty much wasted a year with this woman, not understanding why I couldn't get her into housing, why she couldn't get into HUD housing, because she had no income or anything in here. She failed to tell me she was a sex offender.
Marsha, I think a lot of that has to do with the stigma that the public puts upon sex offenders.
Right.
I mean, even in my job as a reentry navigator, individuals contacting me from prison, we build a relationship, and then when they tell me they're a sex offender, my heart kind of like, breaks a little bit, because I know that you are going to be one of my hardest people to help, because a lot of times, as soon as you mention sex offender, oh no, we don't accept those. Sorry, and so there's only a few places in the state that really would even think about helping anyone who's listed on the sex offender registry. And so I can understand her point of view, but also as someone trying to help her, I can see your point of view where they don't tell you everything. If you're trying to help somebody, they need to be as honest with us as they can.
I have several people that are working at Castamp and Clarion. They have a lot of money saved up in the bank. They're making decent money, and I just still can't find people that'll rent to them.
I might be wrong. Ms. Brown, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought when people are sex offenders, they do not have to put on an application for a house. They're the sex offender registry.
That's not true.
They do, because
Yeah.
they have to know where they are. Because
I mean, well,
like Miss Marsha was saying, sex offenders, and there are some people who have certain child abuse or child neglect offenses
right.
that have to be on a registry. There's a separate registry for the child neglect and child abuse cases, and one separate for sex offenders. And the reason
Well,
why that is because there's legislation that mandates that nationally,
okay.
not just in the
No.
state of West Virginia.
I get that they have to register with the state police. I know that. What I'm saying is when they
No,
go.
they have to disclose on rental applications.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do a background check. They'll see their criminal history.
Okay.
And then a lot of times, if you Google people, especially if they committed a crime in West Virginia, for example, it'll show what they did
okay.
or what they were convicted of. So that's something that even if they try to lie about it, they could look up their background and their name for the check and they would find it.
Okay.
Yeah. And most housing is relatively close distance to school or playground.
Right.
Or daycare.
Yeah, so they have
Right.
to disclose that. Otherwise, if they don't disclose it, let's just say
It's a
No,
violation. I understand that.
Yeah. And there are sex offenders who don't have child victims. Their victims are adults. And sometimes it's been easier to find them housing because they may have sexual assault charges. But if they're actual sex offenders that have attempted to solicit a minor via the internet or actually committed a sexual abuse offense, a physical offense against a child, most of the time landlords will not rent to them. And the one place that rented to them regularly was Harvest Time, and they closed in April, permanently in April of this year. So it's not too many people that are willing to do that. And that's actually one of the hardest populations to find housing for because, like Kenny was saying, what they're located around. And a lot of times, even if there's properties that could be renovated for them to live, a lot of people don't want to put money in that because of the insurance premiums that they incur by even housing that population.
I didn't know that it affected the insurance of the rent or the rental properties.
Yeah, because there were people that were going to set up that type of housing in Raleigh County, and then the sheriffs and different people got wind of it and they didn't want them to do it. But when I've talked to other people that were willing to offer that type of housing, they said that their insurance tends to be higher because they have to have insurance for their properties. I
Right.
thought that was a little wild, but yeah, most of them have all said the same thing when it came to having insurance on these type of properties.
So I guess like a question, I don't know who could answer. Maybe Marcia could answer. Is there a state list of realtors or renters who are willing to overlook if someone is on the sex offender registry?
No, people won't publicly tell you that because even dealing with our population, there are some landlords that communicate with our parole offices, but they won't publicly say that. Even
Okay.
though the address where they live is listed on the registry, the person that owns the property won't publicly advertise that they do that. They
Thank
usually
Okay.
handle that on a case by case basis with us.
Okay.
And that was the Hargrove Apartments in Beckley that used to rent to sex offenders. And now it's gone.
Yeah, that was one of the places that some of the people in the area did use that worked out pretty good for some people.
But you know what? I mean, I tell the council people this and everything. You know, nobody wants to deal with the homeless people, evidently, but they really don't want to deal with the sex offenders. And as long as these men and women are alive and breathing, they have to have food, clothing, and shelter. We learned this in elementary school. As long as they're breathing, they have to be able to live somewhere. So something needs to change, you know?
That ultimately is probably going to have to become a legislative issue because when you think about the housing that's available in the state of West Virginia right now, a lot of the people who needed recovery housing, it was easy to obtain because of the funding that was available for people to establish that type of housing. But when you look at Senate Bill 371 and they have mandates for people who have to come out of mandatory supervision that might have sexual offenses, a strangulation charge, or those child neglect or abuse charges I was talking about, they never thought about where they were going to live because they have to be on electronic monitoring for a year when they first get out. And then that supervision is done with DCR, but then after that, say they have extended supervision through the Supreme Court, then they have supervision with them that extends after that. But then even with them, there may be places that they've established that have taken sex offenders that they can stay, but while they're under our supervision for that mandatory, we don't allow them to go there. So sometimes they have to stay in jail an extra year to go to those places. So there's no happy medium for some of those places for them to go to, which is why we run into a lot of the issues with people saying that we keep people beyond their time. A lot of times they don't have anywhere for us to send them, and sometimes they don't have money to go places because most of the time sex offenders don't work while they're incarcerated, because if they're in the jail, they're in protective custody, and the same, when they're in the prison, they're not going to openly work in the kitchen and different places like that for security reasons.
Appreciate that.
I have a question. All right, so the people incarcerated, they can work while they're in prison and make money for when they get out?
Yes, some people do. I mean, they
It's
don't get
not.
paid much, but it
It's
but
not a
it
significant.
adds up. But we do have some people who receive benefits that are incarcerated, and they save it, and that helps them as well. So it goes into an account, and then whoever's over that account puts it on their books for them, and that has helped some people. But in general, they don't make like a great amount of money that would be able to help them do first month's rent and deposit. The only part of our population that has the opportunity to do that are work release status inmates, and they're either in Charleston Correctional Center, Parkersburg Correctional Center, or Beckley Correctional Center. And then with them, what they do, they work out in the community, but they still live in the facility. So they're able to make more money and save money for first month's rent and deposit. And we also have inmates at those facilities that go out and have road crew jobs. So those particular work release status inmates are able to make more than the inmates that are actually in our prisons.
Yeah, and in the facilities themselves, aside from work release that work in the community, the average, I mean, if you work in the kitchen, for instance, you're starting out like $65 a month to $85 a month as the tier um, employment goes in the facilities. But there's individuals that work um, different jobs that don't make even that. Like if you're a porter where you clean up the housing unit, you're making like $15 a month. And they take 10% of that, put it towards your mandatory savings. So every month, $1.50 goes onto your mandatory savings. And then the rest goes onto your books, but then you're not considered indigent at that time when you have employment. So you're responsible for your hygiene and things of that nature, which is really expensive, um, as well as food that's on commissary. And so most individuals that are working in the facilities, their money is going towards their hygiene, commissary, stuff like that for the month, and they're not able to save money unless they have family, friends, or something else that they're able to save money. And then the work release spots are only for certain individuals that meet certain classification
They
requirements.
have to be 0 to 2 community to be
And
work release status inmates.
yeah, and they have to be within 2 years of the parole board in order to even qualify to do that. And so they're able to save money, but the spots are limited. And there's a lot of people that don't make it into work release prior to them seeing the parole board.
All of our inmates have a mandatory savings, so that's incorrect information. And the
So
money that's in their mandatory savings cannot be touched. And the only time that it is if housing is found for that individual and part of the money is needed for them to pay their deposit. But every inmate has a mandatory savings on their account that does not get touched. And
yeah, I
if they're
said that.
working a job in the facility, that money won't go towards hygiene. They have to be able to save it.
That's why I said they take 10%, put it towards
But you
mandatory
said they
savings.
had to pay for their hygiene. They don't. If they're working a facility job, it goes on their mandatory savings.
Only 10%. The rest, you're not considered indigent when you work a facility job. So you can't get free hygiene from the facility when you're not considered indigent. 10% of your pay goes towards mandatory savings. The rest goes on your spending account, and you have to use that for your hygiene, envelopes, stamps, send messages on the tablet. But only 10% goes to your mandatory savings.
Anybody
When
else
you're
got anything? Oh,
when you're in
sorry,
work
Ken.
too, 10% goes to mandatory savings and 10% goes to medical savings. So that if you have to go to the doctor or get a prescription, you're responsible for covering that as well.
They're allowed to have Medicaid when they're in our facility, so they don't pay for that.
Well, they must change that because when I was at work release, we had to pay for our doctor's visits. We had to pay for uh, prescription, like my asthma medicine. I had to pay off of my mandatory savings, my medical savings.
When I worked at Huntington Work Release, I had inmates that didn't have to pay for that, that had Medicaid, and it covered their doctor's appointments. And we also had a clinic that we could send them to that eliminated their cost. Because when they first got there, before we got them made sure they were set up on Medicaid, they would go to that clinic and it would help with their medication. And then once they got Medicaid, CVS was close to the facility and they would send their prescriptions there, and Medicaid would cover that and they wouldn't have to pay for that.
Huntington's been closed for a while now.
It's been closed since 2017.
Yeah.
I closed the doors on November 30th of 2017, but all of our work release status inmates do have Medicaid.
That's when I was at Beckley Work Release in 2017, 2018. I had Medicaid while I was there, but it didn't cover everything. There were
Well,
certain prescriptions.
there's an additional insurance that you can get that will help cover your prescriptions. I don't know if they didn't know about that at Beckley, but we did use that in Huntington.
Anybody else have any questions or anything they want to add? Okay. I thank everybody for being here today. Or hold on, let me. Carla, did you have anything to with your group?
No, nothing new.
Okay.
I've been giving the information to all the reentry councils on March 2nd of this coming year. We're having a Leading for Justice Advocacy Day. It starts off at the Center of Budget and Policy and goes to the Capitol. We're trying to get advocates, people formerly incarcerated, people that work within those communities, friends, family members to show up to the Capitol. And we chose March 2nd because it is a couple days before crossover day when bills, legislation have to be out of the House of Origination in order to go over. So House bills that are introduced have to have been voted on at least 3 times on the House floor and passed in order to go over to the Senate side, to go through that process there. And crossover day is the last day that House bills can go over to the Senate, Senate bills can go over to the House. And so we are having our advocacy day to get people to show up to the Capitol to advocate for different bills and legislation that they want to see either stopped or pushed forward and passed through the houses of origination. And We're trying to get people all over. Say we've received some grant funding through the Just Trust, which is a national organization that deals with a lot of issues within the carceral system, to provide even transportation support, like gas cards and things like that. Um, so we want to try to get as many people as possible to show up to the Capitol that day. It's going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning on, I believe it's that Monday or that Monday, at the Center and Budget and Policy office for a little breakfast, and then we're going to walk 2 blocks to the Capitol and sit in House committees, Senate committees, see the House and Senate floor, as well as we're going to have legislative meetings set up for people to talk to specific legislature, whether it's the House Judiciary, Senate Judiciary, people in Finance Committee, because like the housing and stuff for incarcerated people, they set up to where they agree that DCR can, they passed the law a couple years ago where DCR can set up transitional housing for individuals that are paroled, and may not be eligible for work release or cannot find housing. However, they didn't put any money into that, so it has no kind of fiscal or financial designation. So it hasn't been done. So we are asking people to show up, advocate for these different type of things, as well as some other policy priorities that our CLR coalition has instituted this year. So if anybody wants any other information or wants to attend, I'm putting my contact information in the chat so that they can get a hold of me. And like I said, we're trying to get at least 100 people. I want to see it like in 2017 when the teachers union went to the Capitol. You know, that was an example of how showing up in mass can get some stuff done. And I want people to be talking about this event just like they do the teachers union. And so again, that's March the 2nd of 26.
Okay. Leah, you have anything?
Nothing really new that we haven't already talked about, honestly.
Okay.
And with the holidays coming up, everything's kind of winding down. This morning I did get invited to a conference in March that we're going to see about going to. Let me find it on my schedule. The 26th Annual Sexual Assault and Stalking Symposium. It's on March 26th. We have to pay for a table to have a vendor table. So we just got invited. We just got the email this morning. So the finance person has to look at the books and see if we can afford to pay for a table. And if we can, then looks like that might be where I'll be on March 26th. But that's the only update I have since.
Appreciate it. Marcia, you have anything else?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I
You're
don't.
fine. Okay.
I've only been in the office one day since the 4th of December because of the weather.
Oh, okay. Nicole, you have anything?
I don't have anything new. We're just, I don't know if you remember, but so back in May when I first started attending these, I was brand new. I had no caseload, and now things were just so busy. Um, but I've become a familiar face around the halfway house, and I feel like we've built good rapport with the I call them residents, but and like I said, so many of them are working. I've even had to, like, this Wednesday, I'm going to do it like 11 to 7. So I can meet up with, all my people that are working day shift jobs that I can never, get face to face contact with. So things are doing good overall, just like I said, I have a couple people that are coming up for home confinement in January and February. So trying to find them places to rent. But other than that, I feel like things are going really well there. They do have the director. He was talking. They're starting to get more and more people that are just for some reason going to be there longer, and so it's kind of, I don't know. I guess it's going to cause a ripple effect that less people are going to be able to release to the halfway house because they're just so crowded right now. So I don't know. He said he thinks they just need 3 to 6 months at the halfway house, and now we're getting people that, have another 12 months and things like that. So hopefully that something happens there because I feel like something's going to have to give there. But and so many of them feel like under that the second chance and all that they should be getting to go to home confinement sooner, but for some reason they're getting resistance with it. So I don't know. Hopefully there's a solution to all that soon.
Yeah. Ms. Brown, you have anything, ma'am?
No,
Okay. Appreciate you being here.
I try when I can when I'm not teaching, training, or doing other stuff in the field.
Oh, I know how it is. I know how it is. Just you get here when you can. We appreciate everybody that comes. We appreciate everybody. And I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and hope you guys have a Happy New Year. And I'll see everybody next month.
Bye.
You
Same
too,
to you,
Merry
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Christmas and Happy
Merry
New Year.
Christmas.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Sure, I'll see
Yeah.
some of you later on this week or next week, but
Mm.
hope everybody has a good year.
We will.
See you next year.
Kenny, I'll see you when?
Wednesday, I think.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right.
Is there another meeting this afternoon, Greenbrier, Pocahontas County?
Yes, there is.
Okay, I'm trying to update. I have the reentries as reoccurring events on my calendar,
Right.
and that email I sent you the other day asking you for the new link.
Right. Did you get a new link?
I did not, and
Okay.
then when I
Is
was
that for?
looking, well, then when I was looking, I realized the meeting had actually been moved to the last Friday of the month.
Oh, okay. That's the Morgantown meeting.
Yes, and I hadn't updated my my calendar, and that's why I
Right.
was confused as to what was going on.
Oh,
Like usually that one's a big meeting.
well, I don't know. Yeah, I know that one. So, uh, Grant Hoffman, who was the chairperson for the Morgantown meeting when I first started this, uh, he stepped down from his position because he got accepted into law school. All right. My boss Bev, and the person that said that they would step into the position, they had a scheduling conflict, so they couldn't do anything throughout the week. So the only time that they had open was Monday before 12 and Friday after 12. So I moved the meeting to 1:30 on Friday, and nobody's shown up. So I don't know. Yeah, even the person that told me they were going to do it.
Historically, the Friday afternoon meetings are not well attended.
Well,
It,
I had something on Monday morning. You know, on the Monday mornings, I usually have 10 o'clock every day. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I would have to get with him, and I think Bev is getting ready to send out uh, a email to all the chairs, and I think I'm not 100% sure. So I don't want to say too much. I think we're going to change the way that we do the reentry councils.
okay, like
And
readjust the counties
yeah,
or
readjust everything. I mean, because like since I've taken over, and Aaliyah, you've been here pretty much since I've taken over in April. Uh, we had a lot of councils that didn't even have chairs back then,
oh yeah.
and so uh, even this council, I had a chair, and I'm not going to say what happened, but basically somebody volunteered to take over, and I'm like, I have a chair already for this council, and they're like, well, see if they still want to do it. So I got with the person that was doing the council, and she's like, oh, this will be perfect because I needed to step away anyway. And so then the person comes back and says, oh, I can't do this meeting because my husband and I have problems with our children. And I'm like thinking to myself, I just, I just let the chair out of the chair because you told me you were gonna, so it was just a big, uh, big crazy thing. And so now, I don't know, I'm just, and then like my workload, uh,
Hmm.
Wednesdays, like this Wednesday, I got a meeting with Kenny and them, so that is not going to be, I can't do it. But normally my Wednesdays are now at the Boone County Day Report Center. I'm in Logan, and then I have a recovery home here in Logan. I have people at the jail that I help get out on to treatment. So it's just it's a lot of stuff for me. So like I took a day. I think last week I was, and I stayed home and I did all of the reentry council emails on my constant contact for the next 4 months.
Okay.
So everything for the next 4 months is all up to date. So we'll still get our emails out and everything like that. So it's just very time because even though I have constant contact, it's still very time consuming to do because I got to do 2 emails per meeting. So like you should have got one this morning, and
Yes.
then you should have got one either Friday, I think.
Hmm.
So just kind of like give it a heads up, let you know, and then this morning, because over the weekend, I'm sure people, didn't really think about it. That way, I send one out before the meeting today. So I got to do 2 emails every meeting.
And there's not a way you can like preset a time?
No, I have to do each one manually.
Because I was just wondering, because I know like in Outlook, you can like preset an email to
Right.
go out at a specific time, but I don't know what program you guys are using, so that's why I
Well,
was
we got
just
constant
curious.
contact.
I
So
don't I don't know anything about that
okay,
one, so I don't. That's why I was asking.
it's basically a mass emailer.
Mm-hmm.
So like last I checked, we have about 1,200 contacts
Okay.
in the system. So like with this reentry council, I think it's 163 emails that go out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but we see what shows up.
And yeah. And that's the and I know that it's frustrating, and it's especially frustrating this time of year because you got the holidays. I mean,
Right.
today's meetings will be the last ones that I see you guys out until January.
Oh, really?
Well, tomorrow, all right, so my Wayne County outreach that I had mentioned, I'm going to try to do tomorrow because the weather that hit, you know,
Right.
and tomorrow it's supposed to warm up pretty good and I should be able to get on the road tomorrow. Um, and then Wednesday, I'm in meetings all day. Thursday, I may be able to come to the Logan Mingo reentry. I'm going to try to, but it depends on if I can finagle my schedule a little bit.
Right.
But I definitely won't be at the Wyoming County one because I'm in a meeting. And then next week, there's Calhoun, Gilmer, Roan, and I'm actually doing a presentation at the Appalachian Center for Independent Living.
Okay.
And then I'm off work for the rest of the year.
Well, I understand that. So,
So I'm going to try to make it like I definitely will see you at Greenbrier Pocahontas this evening, and I'm going to
okay.
try to come to Logan.
Okay.
But other than that, I probably won't see you guys until January.
I got 5 more meetings this week, and then I think next week I think we might have only 2 because of the holidays.
Okay. Kenny, I'm glad you stuck around.
Uh-oh, Kenny.
Did you email out the information for the March? What day in March?
March 2nd.
March
Second.
2nd. Is there any way that you can email me that information?
Yeah, I can email you.
Let me put my email. Just I know you might have.
Your email's in the chat already.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Right under mine.
Oh, okay.
Or
Well,
right
I'd already
above mine. Above mine.
I had already typed it and hit send by the time you said that. So
Okay.
Well, because I came back in from my laptop, I was having internet issues, and so I joined with my phone at first. Then I came back in through my laptop once I was able to get it going. So I didn't have the chat where
oh,
you
okay.
guys put in the email. So it's a good thing you did put your email in there.
Okay. Yeah, if you could email me that information because the way our funding works at Disability Rights, most of the programs, if the only disability is substance abuse, there's not really anything we can do. However, CAP, which is the program I work, it's specifically tied to Division of Rehab Services, and Division of Rehab Services can offer services if substance abuse is the only diagnosed disability. So I'm the only advocate that really kind of deals with that realm. I will say, let me turn my heater off here because um now I will say that our intake people, when they go through each intake, we're very aware that substance abuse is very, very rarely the only diagnosed disability. And we can usually serve people under their other disabilities, whether it's a mental illness or physical or whatever. And I did go to the one last year that was up there. I think in one of the meetings I had mentioned it about at the St. John
The
Pastoral
23rd.
Center.
Yeah.
I went to that last year and it ended up being a really, really good outreach. And I would like to try to, if you guys are going to be doing something like that again, I'd like to try to see if I can go.
Yeah, this year is not going to be like a conference per se.
Right.
It's going to be like a whole kind of day of action thing at the Capitol. So, like when we go to the Capitol, we won't have like tables or anything like that. However, we plan on having a whole lot of people so that
Mm-hmm.
you can talk to people about different things. And there's going to be family members, friends, other advocates that probably could really use the information that you have.
Well, and that's something that I can talk if they're most of the action days, like they have a vendor table area under the rotunda. So you guys aren't going to do that?
No, because the date that we're picking, one is we picked that day because of it being crossover day, and two,
Yeah.
we specifically chose to do action because we
Right.
found that people aren't really like engaging that much with like tabling or anything like that. Um, and then also because there's other events that are slated to be happening that day there at the Capitol. So we wanted to make sure that, you know, we had a bunch of people going there for this specific thing, not to just, you know, browse around tables, but we're actually going to committees. We are talking with legislature and things like
Okay.
that. So we chose not to have, you know, a tabling type of thing with it.
Okay, so you're I may not be able to do that. Sorry, my cell phone was, I forgot to put it on silent for the meeting. I may not be able to do that. Usually what we try to do is resource tables.
Yeah.
So that way people can get resources, I can explain services, all that kind of thing. But if you could still send me the information, because I've got some meetings coming up with, I mentioned Appalachian Center for Independent Living, but also with some of the different family resource networks, and I will share information with them also when I go to those places.
Okay, no problem. I will
Okay.
send you an email.
All right, good. Thank you. And I took up all y'all's time. It's 11, it's almost 11 o'clock.
Uh,
All right. You guys have a good day.
you
Kenny,
too,
I'll
You
see you
Joe.
too.
Wednesday.
And if I don't see you guys have a Merry Christmas.
You too, Liv.
You too.
Bye.
Kenny, you need anything?
No, see you, Jonathan.
All right, well, later.
Later.